Hi lovelies, so I'm back with a much promised YouTube video. I know I haven't been taking this seriously and I've been really irresponsible, but I am very much going to do better. I've said that before. Why am I such a liar? I don't know, but I'm going to do better, I promise. It's just that I've been really preoccupied, and I think you guys already know that I've just been traveling and haven't really had the mindset to sit down and make videos. So I did do a little bit of a poll to see what you guys wanted me to make videos on, and a lot of different topics came up, and I'm going to tackle them one by one. But I think one of the things that I've been wanting to make a video about, and some of you guys also wanted to talk about, is kind of a blend of law of attraction. I know you guys always want to know about law of attraction stuff, but also for me recently, just healing and self-healing has been very, very important. And when we come across a lot of stories, especially in recent times, of young people sort of giving up on life and taking their own life, and seeing the aftermath, seeing what their loved ones go through, it is heartbreaking. But at the same time, I just feel like, what can we do? How can we extend ourselves in a way that will make a difference in somebody's life? Because honestly, we do not know what people are going through internally. We can't judge, which is why we have to try and be as kind and as understanding as possible at all times with everyone. So I think for me, healing is important because the last few years of my life has been quite a tumultuous time, and also just a really painful, really negative time in terms of what I was going through. I do see it as a very positive time because it has allowed me to grow in such a way and allowed me to learn and blossom into just, this person that I always wanted to be. And while I'm grateful for that, I do look back and look at the ways in which I have healed and what has helped me heal, and I want to share that with you guys. So I think, trauma is a very common thing. It's not something we can judge another on, because trauma can be varied. It can be a different experience for everyone, and what is traumatic to you may not be traumatic to me, and vice versa. So it's just a matter of understanding that everyone's sort of experiences are different when it comes to any incident. So it's just about being open-minded, and trauma can affect you in many, many ways going into the future, or moving forward from that experience. It can leave scars, which we all know about. Some of us have it, and at the same time it can make you quite anxious, conscious, concerned, suspicious sometimes, and even bitter at times going into another experience in the future. So we bring along a lot of baggage, and what happens is, when we bring along a lot of baggage, I feel that we go into a new experience a little bit prejudiced. So we don't give a good chance to that experience. So I think the process of healing is so important, because we do then kind of learn to process or debrief after a certain incident, and then move on with our lives. And of course, we are going to have better and more fulfilling experiences going forward. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to really talk about this, is because I think we need to heal in order to better experience our life in general. So some of you may or may not know that I do have a background in psychology, but of course this has nothing to do with it in terms of my academic learning. This is more through my life experience, but at the same time, of course, things that I've learned about the human mind, and how we function, how our mechanisms are inside our brain, that helps as well. So with healing, I think one of the first things when people ask how do you heal, it's honestly, you cannot just give a straightforward answer with that, but I will go through a few things. In fact, I've narrowed down to 5 things that I think are most important when trying to move on and heal from a traumatic experience. It's really tap back into who you are authentically. And so I think one of the first things that I found was just acceptance. So when we are in conflict with a certain experiences, and we are not able to accept that this happened, or this is now what it is, we struggle a lot, and we do go into a state of conflict internally and externally, and that can be really, really frustrating, and that can be really damaging as well. That can cause more damage to an already painful or traumatic situation, I feel. So sometimes it's just really important to accept things as they are. Okay, you know what, it is what it is. So when at some point in my life many years ago I went through a little bit of a very brief period of therapy, one of my doctors, what he sort of, one of the first things he actually told me or shared with me was that there are things that we can and cannot control. So circumstances, other people are two things that we cannot control. So a lot of what happens to us, what we experience, is because of something somebody does or some circumstance. But neither of those things are in our control. What is in our control, and pretty much the only thing in our control, is how we respond to it. So that was something that I think I was losing touch of, which is why over the last few years I was, sort of experiencing so much trauma and anxiety and pain, is because I was not able to control how I respond to something. So I think with acceptance, it also is a massive thing when we're like, okay, the only thing I can control is how I respond to this situation. So I accept things as they are, and I choose to react to it, respond to it in a certain way. So I think acceptance is number one in the healing process for me personally. The next thing, and one of the most important things, whether you're healing from something or just in general in life, is mindfulness. And mindfulness is really, really important, because a lot of the pain that we feel, anxiety that we feel, is usually either in the past or in the future. So if it's pain, it's usually that we are reliving something and feeling painful feelings that we experienced before. We're just sort of refeeling that or reliving that, and that feels very, almost like you're going through it again. It feels really raw, it feels really tender, and you are just sort of going through that process over and over again. With anxiety, it's usually to do with something that's in the future. So we are worrying, we're concerned, we are anxious. So I think in the present is a very good, very safe place for us to be, because usually in the present, so basically, the present is actually a pretty good place to be in. So if you're mindful about what you're doing at that time, rather than being either in the past or in the future, I think that really helps us to kind of minimize a lot of the negative feelings that we go through, negative emotions that we go through. I think acts of self-care and self-love is often talked about, but we don't want to miss the point with self-love. People say it's not about the scented candles and the bath and the magazines and all of that, but it kind of is as well. It really depends on what gives you joy. But at the same time, an act of self-care or self-love is just your way of showing yourself that you matter. Because at the end of the day, it is that you matter. So what I want to encourage when you're trying to heal from something is to find something that gives you joy, that makes you happy. It's a very, very simple phenomenon. It's not rocket science, but we do find ourselves kind of neglecting that or sidelining that. So whether it's prayer, whether it's reading a book, whether it's walking your dog or playing with your pet or talking to a friend, whatever it is that gives you a sense of peace, happiness, contentment, is something that you should truly and actively build into your daily routine, because that honestly takes a lot of this negativity out of your daily life. So if you can build your entire day around self-love, then do it. Why not? Even going to work, find your passion for what you do, and find something that sparks a little joy in your day and go after it. Really go after it, because at the end of the day, you matter the most. You do. And it's not a selfish thing, but you do matter the most, because when you are at your peak, at your optimum, is when you can be the best for other people as well. So an act of self-care and self-love is a really selfless act as well. Another thing that happens when we go through trauma is that there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt associated with that. So we tend to pull away, isolate ourselves, and sort of, be in our own little bubble. And we tend not to communicate our feelings, we tend not to reach out and accept help. Sometimes I understand that, because we don't want to reach out and share our problems and tell people what we go through. I've been there. But at the same time, I think a lot of us are very, very fortunate to have people who care about us and who want to extend help. So when you are in that position, definitely accept that help. And it doesn't mean that you have to go and sit and talk about your innermost feelings and share that with somebody. It can just be saying to a friend, hey, I just want to go for a walk. Don't feel like talking. Do you want to come? Or if somebody is wanting to go out with you, or meet you or have a coffee with you, and you don't feel like socializing, you can say, you know what, I don't feel like socializing, but I'm happy to have a cup of coffee with you and just sit quietly. Is that okay? And you will find that every single time your friends, your family, your loved ones will say yes. And the thing is, you don't have to feel shy about reaching out. Even when you don't have somebody offering help but you want it, you will find that when you just say, hey, I need some help, people are more than happy to say, yeah, I got you, what do you need, man? So it's just about showing people that you need that little bit of attention and you need that little bit of help. Because ask yourself this question: if somebody would ask that from you, whether it's a really close person or even a stranger, say, hey, I'm not doing that great emotionally, can you help? Like, is there something you can help me with? Will you or will you not be open to help? You will, right? So it's the same thing. You will find that people are more than willing to help. And I think it also opens this beautiful gateway to share experiences. And you know what? Somebody who's helping you might be helping themselves by doing that as well. So I think that's just such a wonderful, such a beautiful thing to communicate, build bridges, and to form bonds that are for life. So another thing, I think I've talked about this before as well, and a lot of our emotions are very much intertwined with our breathing. So learning to control our breathing, learning to balance our breathing, and sort of focus our breathing is a really, really important thing when it comes to sort of balancing our emotions. So that's why we talk about meditation, but it's a little too serious for some people. People don't want to hear about, or if you want to heal, meditate. But it's talked about so often because it really does help. I know for me, whenever I'm feeling a negative emotion, I generally just sort of close my eyes and breathe deeply for a few seconds, and it does help me sort of, I guess, flush out the negativity. I don't know how it works. I can't really explain it. But if you do it, if you practice it on a regular basis, you'll find that it does work in that way. Of course, if you build meditation into your daily life, you will see benefits that are just indescribable, because they are so many. Honestly, if you start your day with meditation and if you end your day with meditation, it just aligns everything for you. So even when it comes to law of attraction and manifestation and all of that stuff, I think meditation is at the center of it. It just means we are more focused. It just means that we are on a higher frequency when we're trying to attract things that we want rather than things that we don't want. So meditation and our breathing is a really important part of healing as well. And it's a very practical thing we can do. It's not something that we just think about and we don't know how to execute. This is something you can actually practically put into action and see some results from. Last but not least, I want to press the importance of your own pace. I think pace in life in general is something that really stresses us out. When somebody's, sort of moving in their career or moving in their life in a different way, at a different speed to us, we do tend to get a little bit nervous. We're like, are we too slow? Are we not going the right direction? So all these things can be a little bit negative for us. But at the same time, I think even with healing, don't let anyone tell you what speed you should be moving on in. I've had that done to me quite a few times where people are like, oh, it's been this long, just like move on. No, it's not like that. It's not that simple. You need to do what you need to do. You need to feel what you need to feel, and do not let anyone make you feel guilty about that, because you have full ownership of your journey. You have full responsibility of how you're going to do this. But do remember that you are at the center of all of it, and of course, the quicker you move on, the quicker you heal, the better it is for you, because at the end of the day, you get to live a more fulfilling, happier life as a result of it. But at the same time, the stress of having to move on so fast or heal so fast can be just detrimental. So I think it's just about finding something that works for you, taking baby steps, but taking steps. You know what? Sometimes you might take a couple of steps back as well, but it's okay, because it's all part of the process. There are people that are there to help you. There's a lot of resources out there in the world that you can access. There are books you can read, podcasts you can listen to, all about this. As long as you're actively trying to heal and move on, I think it will happen with time, because time also is a major factor. It plays a big role in healing. I know it has for me. So yeah, do not underestimate the power of a single moment that can change your life. Really key takeaway from this video: do not underestimate the power of a single moment. Anything can be turned around at any second, so be open to that, be open to receiving that. So I think that kind of sums it up, and I wanted to keep it really brief and as deep as I can possibly get in a short period of time, and I hope it does help. And I'll keep the videos coming, and do share your feedback with me. I really appreciate them all the time. Leave it in the comments, tell me in my inbox on Instagram or on my social media, and I'll see you again next time. Stay safe, guys. Much love.